G'day everyone, check this out, what a glorious day. The calendar says that it's the middle of January, but the thermometer says it's the middle of September, and I tell you what, if it was any colder, I'd probably have to consider sewing the sleeves back onto my flannelette shirt. Righto everyone, today I'm going trout fishing, some midsummer trout fishing here in northeast Victoria, and in particular these lowland streams that I'm about to fish. The middle of summer can be a very hard time to fish because the trout are a cold water species, and this is the time of the year that the water is at its warmest, through January and February. Now, we've had a massive temperature drop. We had a strong change come through yesterday. It delivered half an inch of rain up here, which is quite enough to put a bit of fresh water into the system. It's been quite cool, and I'm just hoping this bit of a cool change combined with a little bit of rainfall that they had might be enough just to trigger a little bit of a bite, a trout bite in the middle of summer. Because when the water's warm, the trout will often just lay dormant in the bottom of the deep pools, just sulking, waiting for some fresh water to arrive to deliver food and deliver oxygen. I've just had a quick look at the stream, and the water's quite dark. It's quite tannin stained. It doesn't look great for trout, but I reckon that up here in these streams where there's a lot of rapids and the water's breaking up a lot, the oxygen levels should be fine. The water temperature itself can deplete the oxygen. Once the water warms up, the oxygen can just disappear a little bit. But I think it should be okay. The fish will be okay, they'll be surviving, but will they be feeding? There's only one way to find out, and that's to go and have a crack. And today I'm using the all-new Strike Tiger Micro Minnow. Some of you may remember a few years back I used to make my own soft plastics called metalheads. They were great, they caught heaps of trout and redfin, but they were quite time consuming and labour intensive for me to make, and I had to stop making them because I'd rather be fishing than making soft plastics. But now Strike Tiger have released a little 1-inch minnow called a micro minnow. I'm fishing it with a 1/32 of an ounce jig head, so it's going to be quite challenging to cast in this wind. If there's too much current, I might have to go up to a 1/16 of an ounce, but I'm starting off with a 1/32 ounce Strike Tiger Micro Minnow, middle of summer. Are the trout going to be biting? Let's go and find out. Got him. Ha ha. Right. Come on, Mr. Trout. In the middle of summer, the best thing to do with a trout in the middle of summer is to wet your hand to protect his slimy coating. See how he's a bit lean? He's not a very fat fish. I'd say he hasn't been eating much during the hot weather. Unhook him as quick as you can, get him back in the water as quick as you can. Even then, look, he's still only swimming off slowly. He was out of the water for about 10 seconds, that fish. Quick unhook, quick release. I see these photos on social media of people standing away from the water, holding these big trout up, doing the whole comfort lift, supporting them under their stomach, doing everything right. But I can just about say with a fair degree of certainty that those fish have died. This time of the year, critically important to get them back in the water if you want the fish to survive. Now, normally I'd hold the fish to say this, but I wanted to get it back in the water. You would have noticed that fish was quite lean, he was skinny, and that's because he probably hasn't been feeding a lot during the summer months while the water's been warm. And now that we've got a little bit of fresh water, a bit of colour in the water, a bit of fresh water in the system, a bit of cool weather, he decided he might have something to eat, and I actually pulled him right out of the deepest part of the hole, where he may have even been laying there still sulking. He wasn't out in the current feeding. But he was lean, he was underweight. Despite the banks being full of grasshoppers, he was underweight. That tells me that he hasn't been eating very much at this warmest time of the year. And they'll sit there and they'll go on hunger strike pretty much, and they won't eat much at all until conditions are in their favour. And conditions today are a little bit more favourable for the trout. But in March or April, when everything starts to cool down completely, at the moment it's only just a cool dip, but the heat will return next week. In March or April, when things start to cool down properly, those fish will come back out and start feeding much more freely. Look at this. This used to be one of my favourite holes. I can still get a bit of a cast under there, but not as well as I used to. But see all these leaves? This come down in the big windstorm that we had recently by the looks of it. As these leaves decay and fall into the water, they release the tannins, and that's what's making the water so dark. Right along this stream, there is no doubt going to be a lot more of these trees laying across. I've already found a couple. But it's all the leaves and branches that have blown into the creeks, or fallen into the creek, like this one, the whole tree. That's what's helping make the water so dark. Oh, I had a touch. You hit it again. Look at him, he wants it. Take it, take it, take it. You know you want it. He's looking at it, look. Trying to tease him. Something's not right, he's saying. Take it, take it, take it. If I bounce it around near the surface, make it look like it's getting away. Look at him. What an amazing fish. He's still sitting just there, look. It's going to come back past you, mate. Are you prepared? Here it comes. Oh, you hit it that time. Oh dear, so close. Wow. I was really looking forward to placing a cast along that bank over there. You can see it drops away deep. Caught quite a few trout over there, but that's not going to happen today. Ooh, this is what? I just had a fish swipe after my lure but not take it. I can see a trout right in the middle of the stream here in front of me. Surely he must be spooked. He must have seen me. Turn. No, he's seen me alright. Look, he's just sitting there. Never even turned for my soft plastic thing. Ooh, a couple hitting it, but only really half-assed. Change colour maybe, put a black one on. Should call this Inkwell Creek. Look at the photo, look at the follow, little trout following. There's a trout following my lure then. Comes one, take it, take it. Oh, he hit it. He hit it. He hit it. I changed from a green to a black and I got an instant strike. But he failed to hook up. That's it for this video, folks. Thanks very much for watching. There wasn't a lot of fish caught in this video, but there was a little bit to learn from it. And that is, if it doesn't feel right, or if you think conditions aren't right, then perhaps they're probably not. I caught one fish. I had 4 or 5 others follow. I've seen a few just swimming in the shallows. Not interested in even following my lure. The water feels cool enough and I put my feet in it, but it's not cool. It's refreshing because it's cooler than the water downstream where I live in Wangaratta. But up here it's actually not cold. It's not cold at all. It's nowhere near cold enough for trout and they don't like these conditions. And that's why they're not chewing, not on the chew so to speak, or not feeding a lot. Now I caught the one and I had a few follows, so they're half interested, but something worth noticing, or something worth noting I should say, is the amount of grasshoppers on the banks of the creek today. It was that noisy in one spot, it sounded like there were snakes moving in the grass because it was just millions of grasshoppers. With this strong southerly wind, it's been blowing grasshoppers out of tussocks and out of grasses like these banks down here into the water, and I've actually seen grasshoppers floating past and I have not seen one trout rise. So if the trout are not rising for those grasshoppers, what hope have I got of catching them on an artificial lure? I think I've done well just to catch one, to be quite honest. Anyway folks, another couple of months when the nights start getting longer and the days are a bit cooler, the water starts to cool down. At the moment we've got a cool dip in the weather, but the water's still quite warm. Once we get consistently cool days and this water cools down, these fish will come back on the chew, and given the current flow of water in these streams is quite good at the moment for this time of year. It's actually higher than usual for this time of year. I am anticipating that we're going to have a great trout fishing autumn this coming season. Just because this creek has fished slowly today, it doesn't mean they all will. I'm going to go and search for another stream next week. I've got a bit of time off work during the week, and I'm going to go and search for a stream that's a lot more overgrown. It'll be harder to fish, but the water will be cooler. And if I can find a stream with cooler water, I reckon I might be able to try and find some active trout. Thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for that video, which I hope to film next week.